Hello, I'm Pam George, and I currently teach at Cornerstone University. Teaching in higher ed can sometimes feel like an elephant rider trying to drive my class towards learning. The elephant obviously is much larger than the rider, and the rider needs some special skills. So, in this context, I look at the elephant as the barriers to learning. I might be a content expert, but I need to remember that I'm not just teaching content, but I'm teaching students. So, how do I shrink this elephant and create a safe, inclusive classroom despite diverse cultural challenges? So, what is the problem here? The National Center of Education Statistics reported that on the average, less than 50% of students entering universities graduate. That's 50%. What's even more alarming is that African American graduation rates have been around 20% for the last 2 decades or even more, and it has hardly changed. What that means is 80% of African American students who enter college leave before they graduate. Let's see if we do any better in Michigan. In the Minnesota Private College Council did a study to find out how Midwest colleges are doing in graduating students of color. And as you can see in this graph, only 25% of students of color graduate on the average. That's 75% of students who've invested, had their dreams, and entered college, but they were not able to finish it. So, why is this so important? And why is this a problem? A study by Long in 2018 out of Harvard University reported that taxpayers spend about 130 billion annually to fund higher education. Now think about a business. Which business would continue to do the same things if they invested $130 billion a year and 50% of it was lost? Bill Gates also highlighted that without more graduates, our country will face a shortage of skilled workers, and fewer low income families will get an opportunity to lift themselves out of poverty. This has also alarmed the US Secretary of State in 2017. They declared this a national crisis and implored and expected universities to figure out how to bridge this persistent gap between college attendance and graduation rates of low income Americans as compared to their affluent peers. So, most universities have tackled this with diversity initiatives. But these reports tend to just gather dust on the shelves, and a lot of universities hardly examine them. But there's good news. There was a study done by Booker in 2016, and they found that students' decision to persist at college was based on faculty being accessible, approachable, and providing authentic instruction. Basically, this study is showing that faculty can make a difference in helping undergraduate students succeed. So, how are we going to do that? We can even learn from most businesses. When I think about Amazon and how they invest in getting to know their customer needs, and as a result, their results have skyrocketed. What would happen if faculty imitate that and gets to know their students' need? Who are the students we're teaching? There was a study done by Jean Twenge, who studied the iGen population, and she noticed, quote, more than the previous generations, iGen are obsessed with safety, focused on tolerance, and have no patience for inequality. As members of the iGen, students need to understand themselves, and faculty need to be equipped to teach them. There was another study done by the American College Health Associations, and they had surveyed undergraduate college students. They had surveyed about 400,000 students across 100 campuses. And what they found was 43% seriously considered suicide, and 30% more than previous generations intentionally injured themselves. So these studies highlight the needs for educators to know now more than ever to consider even the mental health of the students that we teach. We also have brain research that's given us a lot of information on how our brains learn. Maslow's hierarchy of needs informs us that belonging is one of the core needs. Universities invest a lot of money and focus on making sure the physiological needs and the safety needs are set in universities, but what about the need to belong? Research has shown that stress-related cognitive problems can hinder attention and focus, learning and memory, and word finding. The way that we reduce and shrink the cortisol stress is by building rapport and alliance. A study done by Hammond showed that rapport and alliance increases cognitive insight. So, in other words, faculty who invest in building rapport and creating an alliance with their students will increase their cognitive insights of their students. So let's talk about some resolutions. How do we resolve this problem of low graduation rates and shrinking the big elephant in the room? First, we have to learn to reframe diversity. A few decades ago, when technology came into the scene, many schools were resistant. They were afraid of change. But today, it's a no-brainer. Technology becomes one of the core standards in education. In the same way, we need to reframe how we view diversity. Research has shown that diverse teams, when they are culturally intelligent, produce a lot better results. So just like technology is embedded into the education system, diversity needs to be embedded. For that to happen, we need to have leaders who adopt leadership models that empower change. And one model is the Bowman model, the four-frame model. It's a model that supports leaders to navigate the complexity and discomfort while an organization experiences change. And there's also a lot of research that shows that active listening has also been important in building that rapport with our students and with each other. The Bible also exhorts us to be quick to listen. So, in conclusion, as we adopt change, we can shrink the elephant